is imperative for people in general, especially young athletes, to take care of their bodies, head to toe. And right here in the middle is this sweet spot where we get our balance and stability. The orthopedic and sports medicine experts of Trinity Health System are here to show us that at the core of every champion, health matters.
Today, we're going to be talking about the core, why it's important for high school, college athletes, why it's also important for general population, older adults, anybody that might be in pain or want to stay out of pain. Your core is not just your six-pack, but it's basically anything from the neck down and from the hips up. Everything in your trunk is your core. So, your arms might be real strong, you might be able to bench press a house, but if your core is weak, you can't show that explosion on the field.
So if I go to take a step, if I didn't have my core to support my trunk, I would fall over, okay? So a good exercise or a good way to kind of assess that is what we do is kind of put you on your back. Pressure here, Pete. And then if he can maintain this pressure, say while he lifts his left knee off the table, that tells us that he's qualified to take a step without collapsing, okay? And you kind of do this both sides. It's a nice simple way to kind of activate hip flexion with core stability, which is just like me taking a step this way.
The way you know that your core is in good functioning as far as just everyday life is if you have good posture. Number one, are my shoulders rolled forward? If I'm like this, that probably means that I'm also crunched up like this. You want to have your shoulders back, ribs and hips should be parallel. Ear, shoulder, all in one good line. If your posture's here, that probably means, at least to start with, you've got a pretty good core. Your core basically does three different things for you. It stabilizes you, it creates rotation, or it stops you from rotating. So when you go and you throw that baseball, being able to slow yourself down. That's when, majority of the time, kids get injured, back pain, maybe hip pain, is because they can rotate really hard, but they can't stop themselves from rotating.
New research points to activation of all the core muscles by pressure in your abdomen, but you should be able to do that while breathing. So Pete's trained on this a little bit, and he should have this 360-degree balloon in an effort to kind of activate, pressurize his core. Now this is for everybody, okay, but there's also people that you want to watch out that you don't want to over-pressurize, okay, because bad things can happen. So there's a happy medium where like Pete can kind of stabilize this and breathe through it. It's really healthy to do it that way.
Rotation, being able to create power when you're going through a full range of motion. So grabbing a medicine ball doesn't have to be real heavy. It just has to be powerful. You're trying to throw it as hard as you can. Get a good wall, get a partner that can catch it and throw it back to you right here, but I'm trying to create as much velocity with my shoulders as I can. Here, anti-rotation. Your core not allowing your shoulders to move no matter what else is going on around you. And you grab it, get some tension, and then moving through planes of motion where this band wants to pull my shoulders this way, but I don't let it because I'm keeping my core tight. Play with it because sports is unpredictable. Make this unpredictable. Your shoulders and core don't know what's going to happen, but being able to stabilize in that is going to keep you injury-free once you're on the field. You've got your posture and it looks right, everything's in line. One other way to know that your core might be off just a little bit is, do you have any pain? Do you have back pain? Are you scrunched over one side compared to the other? Do you have one shoulder higher than the other? Do you have one hip higher than the other? Another good way to know if your core isn't functioning is, can you do a good plank? To do a good plank, you have to be able to create tension in your core. If you can create tension in your core, that's good. That means everything's functioning. In a good plank, when I'm up here, locking out my legs as tight as I can, and I'm squeezing my abs as tight as I can. Squeeze everything in. My ribs and my hips are parallel to each other. Can you hold this as tight as you can without relaxing?
Okay, so one really important thing we need to stress with core stability, the breakdown of that, where you have this kind of sucked in or increased curve in your back, creates a lot of havoc in our youth athletes with stress fractures. Can't tell you enough how many times I see it when you have an athlete or any youngster with back pain. Honestly, it's the first thing that I think of. And a quick way to kind of see that is just watching how they sit or stand. If they're kind of in this extended, loaded position, which is actually really common, or they're just really slouched over playing video games all day, both of those scenarios show us that you don't have really a good, stable platform or good core. So as far as a recovery perspective to try and get back to that, once the injury is kind of healed or simmered down a little bit, the first thing we stress as far as a rehabilitation effort, especially in lower back things, is to kind of address that pressure and that core that we talked about earlier.
And then for the injury prevention side of things, if anything is not correct in your core, your trunk, then nothing else can function properly. Your body's almost like a patchwork quilt. So if one thread is wrong and gets pulled on, that pulls on the rest of the quilt. So if my core's not right, that could end up having back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, and it all generates from having a dysfunctional core. So remember, the 3 actions of the core: stability, anti-rotation, and rotation. You want to be able to keep yourself in a good posture, good alignment, everything here. And whenever you're doing planks, squats, deadlifts, bicep curls, anything like that, keeping your core engaged doesn't mean sucking in like I'm at the beach, but keeping tension, like if I'm about to get punched in the stomach, squeezing hard. That's what keeps everything in good alignment.
No matter the activity, utilizing your core is critical for optimal performance. The orthopedic and sports medicine experts of Trinity Health System will be back next week with more on why health matters. So stay tuned, stay engaged, and stay on the field.